Hi everyone, I'm Miss Alyssa.
And I'm Miss Teresa.
And welcome back to another book talk.
Yay!
So this month of September, we read
The Jumbies by Tracey Baptiste.
So if you didn't get to read the book, we're going to let you know exactly what a jumbie is, Miss Teresa.
Okay, so the author says that a jumbie is a name for every bad-thinking, sneaky, trick-loving creature that comes out at night with the purpose of causing trouble.
And they definitely cause trouble in this book.
Yes.
The book is set in the Caribbean on an island where jumbies and humans live together.
Yeah. So it's based on Caribbean folktales, and we find out that jumbies share this island with humans, and it's kind of creepy. This book is.
It's not kind of. It's very creepy, the whole book, but I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I don't have a lot of background in different fairy tales from other cultures, so it was really interesting reading about some of these creatures. And this book is loosely based on the Haitian folktale, The Magic Orange Tree, which was really interesting.
Yeah. I would be interested to read that original story.
I would too. I was like, but it had a lot of elements that were very creepy but interesting and kept me wanting to read to the very end of the book.
And some of the jumbies they had similarities to fairy tales and monsters that we were familiar with already.
Yeah, so they have ones called lagahoos, which are kind of like werewolves, except they have chains all over them. And so it was something that I had read about before. Like, it seemed very similar to me, but then it had that different element that I really appreciated. Yeah, I appreciated that.
They're also sukuyas?
Sukuya. Which are
sort of like a vampire,
but like way worse.
Yeah, they're women who shed their skin, turn into basically a flying flame ball, and suck the blood out of people. So kind of a vampire, but definitely like a vampire to the 10th power.
Yeah, so like
much scarier, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of them had elements that made them a little bit more creepy.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting to read about them, and I really enjoyed that. It's
scary but fun.
Yes, very much so. But some of them that were just the scariest.
Yeah, for sure. So we should just start with our favorite characters.
Okay, so the character that I liked the most was Corinne. I thought she was a really good main character. I thought that she was really brave. A lot of stuff is happening in this book. And she is kind of in the middle of it. And so she is dealing with so many, literal monsters that she has to fight. And it would just be so easy for you to, just give up and not want to deal with any of the stuff. But she has to face this head on. Her dad is basically kidnapped and brainwashed to forget her. She loses her home. Her friends and people on the island are being attacked by monsters. So it's just a lot that's coming at her, and she's just alone trying to deal with this until she gets her group of friends. And so trying to figure out fighting these monsters and going to the ocean and going to the forest and
climbing up a cliff
and just dealing with all of this stuff and finding that courage and that bravery to do it was just really impressive. And I really just thought that was such a good character of her.
She definitely had a very big inner strength.
Yes, she really looked to what she had learned from her mother and what she had learned from her father, and she really took that and tried to just find that inner strength to deal with all of the stuff that was happening. So
speaking of her friends, my favorite characters were Malik and Buki, which are friends of Corinne. They don't start off as friends, really. They kind of are they kind of bully her at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. They tie her mother's necklace to this rodent. Yeah. Right? And she has to run to the forest and get her necklace back. And it's these two mischievous boys. So I didn't think I was gonna like them at first, but they definitely proved to be loyal and very brave. They themselves aren't living in the easiest situation. They are basically homeless. They live in a cave. They don't have any family to take care of them. So just that fact, it's very amazing that they're able to survive at all. But they also prove that they're really good friends to Corinne, and they are the first to offer shelter for her when her dad is brainwashed. Yeah. And they say, you can live with us. No
in
problem.
Their cave.
Yeah, which is really sweet. And they also offer themselves as a distraction for all the scary Jumbies out there. Yeah. When they're attacking the town, they become the distraction, and they are gonna do that for Corinne so she can, hopefully save everyone.
Yeah, it was nice to see them as a team together, the brothers, but then also be willing to join Corinne and Drew too to fight these monsters. So yeah, it was really nice. I did like them too. Like at first it was like, oh no, these boys, they're being mean to the frog and they're being mean to this little poor rodent, and but then you find out more about their backstory and about they just have each other and how quickly that they're willing to bring Corinne into their team. We get when she loses her home and her family, and they're there. Hey, come on, live with us. We'll show you how to get food.
And they also provided very needed comic relief in an otherwise terrifying situation throughout the whole book. I really like that the whole time Drew and Corinne think Malik doesn't talk because he doesn't really say anything. But Bookie's like, oh, he talks all the time. He doesn't say anything about the whole book
until the very end, and then he says something, and he's like, "See, look, I told you, he talks all the time."
So it was a very welcome distraction from the terrifying Jumbies.
Yeah, they were good too. Yeah, all together.
Speaking of terrifying Jumbies, we decided to choose which was the scariest Jumbie to us.
Yeah, the one that creeped us out the most. Okay, so there was a lot of creepy Jumbies in here, which I think just made for a really interesting read. I had to read to the very end to find out everything. But the ones that creeped me out the most were called Dwens. They were like the little people that lived in the forest. And at first you're thinking okay, they're just forest dwellers. They're not causing any trouble. But you slowly learn things about them. And it's it gets creepier and creepier. And so they all gather together and they shout, ooh, ooh, ooh. And if you hear that and you start shouting ooh too, that's how they brainwash you. And their knees and their feet turn backwards. So if you see a small child in the forest that has knees and feet backwards, run away from them because that's a Dwen and they're gonna come get you. And they work together to get people. It's they're just really creepy and you don't see it. And it's really sad because in the book, we get to know one character, very briefly. It's a little boy named Alan. And so the night when all of the humans, all of the adults and the kids, and they're fighting all of the monsters that are coming out, all the Jumbies are out at night. Alan's out there and he hears his mom calling him. And it's not his mom. So the Dwens can disguise their voice. So they're calling to little Alan and he goes to them and they take him, and we never, at least in this book,
not in this book,
you never see him again. He's been kidnapped. He's now a Dwen. He's one of them. And how scary, for someone to call out to you. And it's your mom or your friend or someone you know, and you just think, okay, I'm gonna go to them, especially when people are fighting. To go help or to be with them, to be safe, and then you get snatched by them. It was just really creepy and kind of sad too.
Yeah, and there's something about just children in general being evil that really creeps me out. So they were one of my top scary Jumbies.
So what about you? What was creepy?
I personally thought that Severine was the creepiest Jumbie, even though when I first meet her, I was pretty sympathetic towards her because it talks a lot about how she had lost her sister and she's looking for her sister. So it seems like she's just looking for family.
Yeah.
However, the way she goes about getting family is crazy and seems pretty evil, and she was very scary. She ends up creating this nasty food mixture and she feeds it to Corinne's father and basically brainwashes him, and he becomes under her complete control and does whatever she says. And she seems to have that control over all the other Jumbies as well.
Yeah, she's the mother of the Jumbies. So what she says.
Well, we aren't sure if the Jumbies actually want to get rid of the humans as well, but that's what Severine wants, so that's what they do.
Yeah, what she says goes. Yes. So she doesn't want humans on the island anymore. It's time for them to go. Mm-hmm. And so she's going to use all the other Jumbies to get rid of them. And so that's what brings the conflict between Jumbies and the humans on the island.
It's definitely her will that creates this chaos.
And, you know, I have to admit, her descriptions of Severine were super creepy. Yes. I don't like bugs. And so you hear or you read that it's like all the centipedes and bugs crawling on her, and she's furry and hairy and
like wooden, like she's a tree almost.
Yeah, it was really I got the chills having to read it. I was not a fan.
I was not a fan either.
Yeah, so she was super creepy, but I felt like all of the Jumbies had really big creep factors.
Yes.
But just that's what made this book so great to read.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, even though it creeped me out.
Yeah, I did too.
So would you read another book?
Yeah, of course. I would definitely read it. I just thought that it was so interesting to learn about a different culture, their folk tales. I'd never heard of any of these creatures before, so I liked reading about it. And then I just liked the main characters too. I liked the group of friends, Corinne and all of Malik, Buki, Drew working together. I liked her father too. I'd like to know more about him. And we find out that Corinne has a deeper connection with Jumbies, and I want to see where that goes too. So yes, I will definitely be checking out more books.
Which she's in luck, because one of our book recommendations is actually the next book in the series of the Jumbies. It's called Rise of the Jumbies. And this finds back Corinne and her friends, and kids have been disappearing from the village a couple months after the Jumbies. So Corinne ends up having to go to the Jumbies of the ocean to make a deal, and she ends up, I guess, Jumbie mermaids, maybe? Looks like from the cover. So I definitely want to know what's going on.
Jumbie mermaids. That sounds really, so I'm glad. I'll be definitely reading that one next. So if you're enjoying the Jumbies series, we have some other recommendations. And this one is called Bayou Magic. And this is by Jewel Parker Rhodes. This also has to deal with a young girl who may be magical. This deals with Maddie. She goes to visit her grandmother in the Louisiana Bayou. And so her grandmother may be a witch, and Maddie may have inherited some of those magical characteristics. There may also be a mermaid in the water. We don't know. So this book is going to deal with celebration and friendship, family, and learning about the wonder of life in the deep South. So that's going to be an interesting read too.
The Bayou is already kind of magical, so it'll be interesting. So our last book recommendation for this month is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This also has to do with the girl with magical powers. So she's raised by a good witch in a forest, and when the witch receives her, she actually accidentally feeds her moonlight instead of starlight, which gives her these crazy magical powers. So she has turned 13, and her magic begins to emerge with dangerous consequences.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So those were our recommendations if you guys have enjoyed reading the Jumbies. But for next month,
which is October,
and that our pick for October's book club is Small Spaces. And this is by Catherine Arden.
It has scarecrows, scary bus drivers,
missing children.
Enough said, right?
Yeah, it's super. So even R.L. Stine. So if you guys like Goosebumps, he says this is terrifying and fun. So just looking at the cover gives me chills. You see the scarecrow on the side, and you see the school bus in the background. Ooh.
Yeah, so it's another chilling one, but it looks awesome.
Yes, I can't wait to read it.
For sure. So thank you guys for joining us for another book talk.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Remember that we do post our videos every Friday, and you can get any of these books on our Overdrive, or you can request them through the library.
And pick them up in our curbside service.
Yeah, and
we hope you guys enjoyed our talk, and we'll see you next month with Small Spaces.
Bye.
Bye.